Good morning. Been thinking about what I want to do today. Yesterday was so nice. I just spent the day with Avery and hanging out in the sun, playing in his little inflatable pool. That was fun. So anyways, back at it today. It's another pretty day, just a little breezy. But trying to figure out what I want to do. I got the tractor there. And that's my favorite tool, by the way. You hear that blue jay? I need to fire up the tractor. It's been a few weeks since I started it up. I think the last time I used it was to plow snow, so it's about due for some work. My mother and father-in-law picked up a gate for me, so we can finally put a gate on the property. And I got all the automatic openers and all that stuff to figure out. But Avery's over at his buddy's today, so I think, you know, he loves to watch me with the backhoe and loves to be out there and do his own digging next to me. At a safe distance, of course. So I think I'll save that for tomorrow when he's home to watch me. So instead, I've got, let's see if I can show you. You know, there's the atrium. And the railing stops because I still need to wrap the posts right there. And there. So I've got to take off the gutters, which is pretty easy. They're only held up by like 1 or 2 screws, and then wrap the posts, and also then I can start putting the ceiling in on the entryway there. And I've already got the material. It's just 1x6 tongue and groove cedar, so it should complement the cedar on the deck really nicely. I've got to figure out how to get it up in the ceiling and also how I'm going to deal with the 2 skylights that I added. I guess I could just walk over there. Huh, let's walk over there. There we go. Yeah, so those skylights there. There's all the cedar. And that should be enough to do this inner atrium area and then the porch. Just got to wrap these 6x6 posts. Then I can finish my railing finally. Connect it to the post and also put in my railing here. Since it's so nice, I got to take advantage of this perfect working weather, you know, before it gets too hot. And do these sorts of things out here. And if it rains in the next couple weeks, then I'll jump in on the air barrier or routing the tubes. But otherwise, I'm going to use this nice weather as much as possible and use that tractor out there. I love that thing. Probably do a whole video on that backhoe. If I'm going to start with these posts, I got to get the shop set up because I need to use the table saw set up with the fiber cement blade to cut 45s on all the edges so that they look like one piece. I've kind of butted it up in a lot of places, but in like the corners and stuff, let's see, on these, you can see these, the ends of these beams and that fake beam up in the center, up there. I 45'd all the corners, and it was a real pain in the butt, but it really looks nice. So that's what I'll do on these beams, and then I'll be done with all the 45s on the fiber cement. I mean, you got to go in there, and it's super dusty on the table saw, and even with the dust collector and the windows open and the mask on, it's still not good. That dust is really terrible. That silica dust. And it's not just wrapped these posts. I got to wrap the beam too. So I got to do some thinking of how this is all going to go together. Let me figure this out and make some progress. Having a tough time getting going today. Days off always do that to me. So this atrium ceiling and this porch, I've been waiting a while to get to it. And these, I've had a piece of this wrap and a couple of pieces probably for a year now, made already. I left myself quite a little jigsaw puzzle to put together. But at least I have the deck to work on now. So I can roll my scaffold out and it should be pretty easy getting up there. Whenever I feel like lack of motivation, I just got to break it down into the simple parts of, I just got to get up, get the measurements, figure out the pieces, and then make the pieces and put them together. It's not that hard, but it's just, once you get going, it flows. But that and this stupid jaw thing too. God, I'm just over my dental problems. Enough whining, more work to do. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm installing pieces of plywood that will fur out for these huge metal hangers that I have for these beam hangers. And this piece here, I actually cut this like I said, like a year ago, and I'm finally installing it. And I had beveled it and then painted the edge. And let's see if it fits, or if I should measure it and see if I have to trim this in. I think that's part of the reason why I didn't put it up. Anyways, let me give you an up-close view of what I did. Oh, so to nail on the plywood furring strips, I'm just using 2-inch stainless steel. They're leftover siding nails. These are 15. This is a 15 gauge nailer, so 2-inch stainless steel brads. And that's what I'll nail this stuff on with. And so you can see here, I had to fur out not just for this, but for the bolts as well. So that's about 1/2 inch from the beam. So I got 1/2 inch plywood. And down below, I just had the 1/4 inch. So I had some 3/8 inch plywood. If you notice, this is a 6x6 post with a 4x beam on top. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to run this post up, and it'll just have, you know, a little jog out in the profile, like a column, and it'll cover up this butt joint. And on this side, there'll be a beveled edge, so the top of this one will have to be beveled and it'll slide up into it. A nail on this piece, right up here is where it goes. I don't know, maybe I'll put this piece on next and then see what I got down here. I'll figure it out. For whatever reason, that table saw, the blade is warped or whatever, because that's one of the worst cuts I've ever seen in my life. When I finished, I looked at it, I was like, how in the hell? But it's like, it's just wavy the whole way down. And I was able to run it back through and kind of force it to cut straight, like take off the large humps. But 45ing these stupid Hardie plank trim garbage, total waste of time. Just butt it together and be happy with it. That's what I should have done, instead of trying to get fancy. If it was real wood, that would have been a lot easier. But just kicking up all this dust, all for these flimsy edges. I'll probably just finish wrapping the beams with these stupid bevels because I've already got them up there. But the beams, the 2 posts, oh, forget that. Especially if that blade's warped, I need to go get another blade, or I don't know why. But probably the last bevel I cut was this thing, and it's straight, and so I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with that stupid cheap saw. It's a cheap saw. Maybe that's what it is. Well, I'm gonna get a snack, and then I'm gonna muddle through getting these beams wrapped. And then when I get to the posts, I'm going easy, and I'm just gonna butt up the joints. You'll see. Should have done that from the start. I'm gonna paint this stupid bevel that I cut. I'm gonna throw it up there. I don't care how ugly it is. And I'm just gonna throw caulk in the joint. And only I will know about it, but you are ugly. I feel better now. I'll be glad when that's covered up. The only problem is I have to cut bevels on these pieces, or at least this piece, and it's going to be ugly unless I can get that blade to somehow cut straight. But this first piece, I'm just going to take the corner off, so that way it'll be straight pretty much no matter what the blade wants to do. So let me do that piece. Okay, so I'm going to cut it to length, then I'm going to put it over, got to switch blades yet again. And I'll cut the bevel on one side of this. And then I'll take it over, measure the notch, and I'll cut that with the jigsaw. Let me grab the blade while I'm thinking of it. There we go. And then I'll paint my cuts, and I'll install it. Making some progress. What I've got here is a bunch of strips of 1/2-inch plywood, and I've got a little bit of this 1/2-inch Rainscreen. So the idea is I'm just going to take some strips, 2 strips on each side. I might actually cut them in half, something to that effect. And these strips in this siding vent here will give rain-screen protection to these posts. I probably won't have them vented at the top, just vented at the bottom, but just because it'd be pretty complicated at this point. I mean, if it turns out there's an easy way to put a screen up there and let it vent out the top, then I'm going to do it, but we'll see how it works out. Also, I put some metal flashing down at the bottom. I ordered just some flat 4-inch flashing. How the siding is going to go on this is I'll cut 2 pieces that will be inside of the 2 cap pieces, basically. So these 2 pieces will be just the width of this plus these spacers, so about 6.5 inches. Then these 2 pieces on the outside that will cap the edges will be 6.5 plus basically 1.5 inches, because it's 3/4 inch trim. It'll be nice. We'll see if I can get this post wrapped today. A couple more things about this stuff. So I've got it up, well, I plan on having the trim up about 1.5 inches up off the deck, just like where the lap siding comes down to the metal flashing on top of the deck ledger. I have it about 1.5 inches. So I'm going to match that here. I held this up at 1.75 inches just so it's not hanging down below the trim ever. And this siding vent has like this bug screen, and I always put that up so that it's protected. And I cut it so that it fills, the whole void. And, small bugs will still be able to get back up there, but big bugs will have trouble. According to Hardie, you want to keep all your siding products 2 inches off of whatever, the deck, a roof, the ground, at least 2 inches. But I went with 1.5 inches. So sue me, Hardie. So one thing I didn't mention was the nail gun. I got the compressor turned down to like 60 psi, or I think like maybe like 65 psi. Anyways, it's turned down pretty low because I don't want to sink these nails. I want them either flush or slightly proud, and then I can just tap them with a hammer and get them perfectly flush. Anyways, here's your nail. Just a little plastic tail sticking out. But then I'll come back and just dab a tiny little dot of paint on there, and that thing will disappear. And same with all the rest of these guys. But I'll do that tomorrow. So I ended up fitting a Rainscreen up here. So I just put a piece of the vent and then just a block of wood to nail into. So I'll run my piece up. I'll just throw a couple of tacks on the top, and when these sides go on, it'll seal the sides, and then the whole post will be able to vent out the top here because they're all cut in the middle. So all these, they're all linked, so all the air can just come up and find its way out. And no bugs can get in because there's this vent blocking it. Let's get this piece on and see if I can get the sides on. Okay, so let me chime in here because the last video clip I made of the day, I had it set to time-lapse mode, and so it's just me sprinting around real fast, yammering without any sound. So that didn't work. I guess that's par for the course today. It was a rough one, but I gritted my teeth through it, and I was able to at least get the post and the beam wrapped. So I guess that's it for today. Avery and Christy joined me for the end of the day there, get me through the last little bit, and Artemis too. And also I caulked all the seams just to make sure that, you know, it keeps bugs out, or if there was some imperfections in the joints that it would be taken up by the caulk. I'm glad to be done with this day. Come back and wrap the other beam and post soon enough.
Avery is bored. Avery wants to go right now. You came, Artemis. Give Artemis some pets?
I like it was just round with a piece of wood.
Yeah.